Exodus 38 through 40. And he made the altar of burnt offering of acacia wood. 5 cubits was the length thereof, and 5 cubits the breadth thereof, 4 square, and 3 cubits the height thereof. And he made the horns thereof upon the 4 corners of it. The horns thereof were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with brass. And he made all the vessels of the altar, the pots and the shovels and the basins, the flesh hooks and the fire pans, all the vessels thereof made he of brass. And he made for the altar a grating of network of brass, under the ledge round about it beneath, reaching halfway up. And he cast 4 rings for the 4 ends of the grating of brass, to be places for the staves. And he made the staves of acacia wood, and overlaid them with brass. And he put the staves into the rings of the sides of the altar, wherewith to bear it. He made it hollow with planks. And he made the laver of brass, and the base thereof of brass, of the mirrors of the ministering women that ministered at the door of the tent of meeting. And he made the court for the south side southward. The hangings of the court were of fine twined linen, 100 cubits. Their pillars were 20, and their sockets 20, of brass. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets were of silver. And for the north side 100 cubits, their pillars 20, and their sockets 20 of brass. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the west side were hangings of 50 cubits, their pillars 10, and their sockets 10, the hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the east side, eastward 50 cubits. The hangings for the one side of the gate were 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And so for the other side, on this hand and that hand, by the gate of the court, were hangings of 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. All the hangings of the court round about were of fine twined linen. And the sockets for the pillars were of brass, the hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver, and the overlaying of their capitals of silver. And all the pillars of the court were filleted with silver. And the screen for the gate of the court was the work of the embroiderer, of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen. And 20 cubits was the length, and the height and the breadth was 5 cubits, answerable to the hangings of the court. And their pillars were 4, and their sockets 4 of brass, their hooks of silver, and the overlaying of their capitals and their fillets of silver. And all the pins of the tabernacle and of the court round about were of brass. This is the sum of the things for the tabernacle, even the tabernacle of testimony, as they were counted, according to the commandment of Moses, for the service of the Levites, by the hand of Ithamar the son of Aaron the priest, and Bezalel the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made all that Jehovah commanded Moses. And with him was Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and a skillful workman, and an embroiderer in blue and in purple and in scarlet and in fine linen. All the gold that was used for the work, and all the work of the sanctuary, even the gold of the offering, was 29 talents, and 730 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. And the silver of them that were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents, and 1,760 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. A bekah a head, that is, half a shekel, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for every one that passed over to them that were numbered, from 20 years old and upward, for 600,000 and 3,550 men. And the 100 talents of silver were for the casting the sockets of the sanctuary, and the sockets of the veil, 100 sockets for the 100 talents, a talent for a socket. And of the 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the pillars, and overlaid their capitals, and made fillets for them. And the brass of the offering was 70 talents, and 2,400 shekels. And therewith he made the sockets to the door of the tent of meeting, and the brazen altar, and the brazen grating for it, and all the vessels of the altar, and the sockets of the court round about, and the sockets of the gate of the court, and all the pins of the tabernacle, and all the pins of the court round about. And of the blue and purple and scarlet they made finely wrought garments for ministering in the holy place, and made the holy garments for Aaron, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he made the ephod of gold, blue, and purple, and scarlet and fine twined linen. And they did beat the gold into thin plates, and cut it into wires, to work it in the blue, and in the purple, and in the scarlet, and in the fine linen, the work of the skillful workmen. They made shoulder pieces for it, joined together. At the 2 ends was it joined together. And the skillfully woven band that was upon it, wherewith to gird it on, was of the same piece, and like the work thereof, of gold, of blue, and of purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And they wrought the onyx stones, enclosed in settings of gold, graven with the engravings of a signet, according to the names of the children of Israel. And he put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod to be stones of memorial for the children of Israel, and Jehovah commanded Moses. And he made the breastplate, the work of the skillful workman, like the work of the ephod, of gold, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. It was foursquare. They made the breastplate double. A span was the length thereof, and a span the breadth thereof, being double. And they set in it 4 rows of stones. A row of sardius, topaz, and carbuncle was the first row, and the second row an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond, and the third row a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst, and the fourth row a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They were enclosed in enclosings of gold in their settings. And the stones were according to the names of the children of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of a signet, every one according to his name, for the 12 tribes. And they made upon the breastplate chains like cords of wreathen work of pure gold. And they made 2 settings of gold and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And they put the 2 wreathen chains of gold and the 2 rings at the ends of the breastplate. And the other 2 ends of the 2 wreathen chains they put on the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod, in the forepart thereof. And they made 2 rings of gold, and put them upon the 2 ends of the breastplate, upon the edge thereof, which was toward the side of the ephod inward. And they made 2 rings of gold, and put them on the 2 shoulder pieces of the ephod underneath, in the forepart thereof, close by the coupling thereof, above the skillfully woven band of the ephod. And they did bind the breastplate by the rings thereof, under the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue, that it might be upon the skillfully woven band of the ephod, and that the breastplate might not be loosed from the ephod, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he made the robe of the ephod of woven work, all of blue, and the whole of the robe in the midst thereof as the whole of a coat of mail, with a binding round about the whole of it, that it should not be rent. And they made upon the skirts of the robe pomegranates of blue and purple and scarlet and twined linen. And they made bells of pure gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates upon the skirts of the robe round about between the pomegranates. A bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate, upon the skirts of the robe round about to minister in, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And they made the coats of fine linen of woven work for Aaron and for his sons, and the mitre of fine linen, and the goodly head tires of fine linen, and the linen breeches of fine twined linen, and the girdle of fine twined linen, in blue and purple and scarlet, the work of the embroiderer, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And they made the plate of the holy crown of pure gold, and wrote upon it a writing like the engraving of a signet, Holy to Jehovah. And they tied unto it a lace of blue, to fasten it upon the mitre above, as Jehovah commanded Moses. Thus was finished all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and the children of Israel did according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses, so did they. And they brought the tabernacle unto Moses, the tent and all its furniture, its clasps, its boards, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets, and the covering of ram skins dyed red, and the covering of seal skins, and the veil of the screen, the ark of the testimony, and the staves thereof, and the mercy seat, the table, all the vessels thereof, and the showbread, the pure candlestick, the lamps thereof, even the lamps to be set in order, and all the vessels thereof, and the oil for the light, and the golden altar, and the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, and the screen for the door of the tent, the brazen altar, and its gratings of brass, its staves, and all its vessels, the laver and its base, the hangings of the court, its pillars and its sockets, and the screen for the gate of the court, the cords thereof, and the pins thereof, and all the instruments of the service of the tabernacle for the tent of meeting, the finely wrought garments for ministering in the holy place, and the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons to minister in the priest's office, according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses. So the children of Israel did all the work. And Moses saw all the work, and behold, they had done it. As Jehovah had commanded, even so had they done it. And Moses blessed them. And Jehovah spake unto Moses, saying, On the first day of the first month shalt thou rear up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and thou shalt put therein the ark of the testimony, and thou shalt screen the ark with the veil. And thou shalt bring in the table, and set in order the things that are upon it, and thou shalt bring it in the candlestick, and light the lamps thereof. And thou shalt set the golden altar for incense before the ark of the testimony, and put the screen of the door of the tabernacle. And thou shalt set the altar of burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. And thou shalt set the laver between the tent of meeting and the altar, and shalt put water therein. And thou shalt set up the court round about, and hang up the screen of the gate of the court. And thou shalt take the anointing oil, and anoint the tabernacle and all that is therein, and shalt hallow it, and all the furniture thereof, and it shall be holy. And thou shalt anoint the altar of burnt offering and all its vessels, and sanctify the altar, and the altar shall be most holy. And thou shalt anoint the laver and its base, and sanctify it. And thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons under the door of the tent of meeting, and shalt wash them with water. And thou shalt put upon Aaron the holy garments, and thou shalt anoint him, and sanctify him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt bring his sons, and put coats upon them. And thou shalt anoint them as thou didst anoint their father, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. And their anointing shall be to them for an everlasting priesthood throughout their generations. Thus did Moses, according to all that Jehovah commanded him, so did he. It came to pass in the first month, in the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was reared up. And Moses reared up the tabernacle, and laid its sockets, and set up the boards thereof, and put in the bars thereof, and reared up its pillars. And he spread the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent above upon it, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he took and put the testimony into the ark, and set the staves on the ark, and put the mercy seat above upon the ark. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, and set up the veil of the screen, and screened the ark of the testimony, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the table in the tent of meeting upon the side of the tabernacle northward with the veil. And he set the bread in order upon it before Jehovah, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the candlestick in the tent of meeting over against the table on the side of the tabernacle southward. And he lighted the lamps before Jehovah, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the golden altar in the tent of meeting before the veil, and he burnt thereon incense of sweet spices, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the screen of the door to the tabernacle. And he set the altar of burnt offering at the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and offered upon it the burnt offering and the meal offering, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he set the laver between the tent of meeting and the altar, and put water therein wherewith to wash. And Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and their feet thereat. When they went into the tent of meeting, and when they came near unto the altar, they washed, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he reared up the court round about the tabernacle and the altar, and set up the screen of the gate of the court. So Moses finished the work. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Jehovah filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of meeting, because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory of Jehovah filled the tabernacle. And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onward throughout all their journeys. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they journeyed not till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of Jehovah was upon the tabernacle by day, and there was fire therein by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel, throughout all their journeys.